Hello families, today we're talking about rounding. Rounding helps us estimate. It helps us estimate about how much something is. Here's our first rounding problem. Round 249 to the nearest 10. When I'm rounding, I usually use a number line, a vertical or a horizontal number line. So first I have to think, what place value am I rounding to? So the place value I'm rounding to here is the nearest 10. Let me bring my number lines. Let me think. What two tens is my number between? So here's my number. Let's think, what's 10 above? What's the 10 right before this? The 10 right before it is 250. What's the 10 right below this? It's 240. Let me think. What's halfway between these two numbers? That's my midpoint. So half the way between 240 and 250 is 245. I know that because if I'm rounding to the nearest 10, halfway is always going to be 5 more than my lowest landmark. So now I'm going to place my number where it belongs. So 249 is about right here. Okay, so now I need to think. What landmark is my number closest to? So I see my number is closest to 250. So that means my number is going to round up to 250. If your number is below your midpoint, that means it's going to round down. If your number is at the midpoint or higher, that means it's going to round up. Let's try another one. Here we have round 249 to the nearest 100. First, let me think, what place value am I rounding to? I'm rounding to the nearest 100. My number is 249. Let me think, what 200s is this number between? So the one that comes right before this is 200. The 100 that comes after this is 300. Now let me think, what's halfway between these two numbers? Half of 100 is 50, so halfway between these two numbers is going to be 50 more than my lower landmark. So it must be 250. Now let me put my number there. 250 is right below, 249 is right below 250. So let me think, is my number going to round up or down? Well, my number is going to round down because it's closer to 200. It's not above the midpoint. Because remember, midpoint and up rounds up. So round 249 to the nearest 10, that's 250. But rounding 249 to the nearest 100 is going to be 200. These are simple rounding problems. Let's try a rounding story problem. This one was on the kids' past assessment. The table below shows the number of tickets were sold each day. School play tickets. On which day does the number of tickets sold round to 300 when rounding to the nearest 100? Let me think. What place value am I rounding to? The nearest 100. It has to round to 300. So I know that numbers can round up or down to a given number. So I'm going to use two number lines. They're all the numbers that are going to round up to 300. That means they have to be between 200 and 300. And then there are all the numbers that round down to 300. That means they're between 300 and 400. Now I'm going to do the same thing. Think, what's the midpoint? What's halfway between? Halfway between 200 and 300 is 250. Halfway between 300 and 400 is 350. So now I'm going to place all these numbers on the number line and see where do we land. 238 is about here. That's Thursday. 361. That's here. That's Friday. Saturday is 249. That's like right here. That's Saturday. Sunday is 328. 328, and that's Saturday. So it says that's around to 300. Let me think, which numbers are closest to 300? So when I look at this, nothing on this number line is going to round up to 300 because nothing is at the midpoint or higher. So I automatically know it can't be Saturday, it can't be Thursday. So now I'm looking here to round to 300, which is over here. That means it needs to round down. It needs to be lower than the midpoint. So it can't be Friday, because that's going to round up to 400. It has to be the Saturday amount. 328. I know 328 rounds to 300 when rounding to the nearest 100 because it's closest to 300. It's not above the midpoint. So when rounded, on which day does the number of tickets sold round to 300 when rounded to the nearest 100? The answer is Sunday. Rounding is not a big deal in 3rd grade. We only have a couple of problems in our state test. However, you have to master rounding this year because in 4th grade it becomes a really big deal and we round up to the 100,000s place. Thank you so much. Please practice this at home. Bye-bye.